Welcome to the Unheard Cries of a Mother, the podcast, where we dive into the raw, unfiltered stories of motherhood, the joys, the struggles, the sacrifices, and the triumphs. Here, we amplify voices that too often go unheard, shining the light on the incredible strength, resilience, and love of mothers around the world. I'm your host, Sabrina Ben Salmi, and I invite you to join us as we uncover the stories behind the smiles, share lessons learned, and create a community that uplifts, supports, and inspires. Let's honor the unheard cries and celebrate the silent victories of motherhood together. Thank you so much for joining us in this space today, Apet. I'm so excited about our conversation. I know I'm going to laugh my head off, so I'm going to really try and tame it down. I'm going to look the other way when you're making me laugh. But thank you for joining me here, and I'm really honoured to just be in this sacred space together today.
Thank you for having me. Literally met you what, less than a month, and it's just been amazing so far. And I know it's going to continue.
Weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Couple of weeks ago. It's crazy, but
Crazy.
What you're doing is amazing. Your son, incredible. But we're going to get to that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. So I'm going to jump straight into the first question.
Yeah.
Can you a pivotal moment in your motherhood journey that shaped who you are today?
You know what? I'm going to go to the first moment when the little Schnookums was in my hand. Literally, okay, so 22, I just graduated 3 months before, and I'm holding this baby. Oh my God, I actually am a mother now. And it was that moment that everything just came down. Like, I'm living for this boy. Everything that I'm going to do is for this boy. And that shaped me to say, okay, your decisions are not only just yourself now, it's literally for him. And from that moment, that was a very, very pivotal moment that I was just like, yeah. And I'm quite goal orientated, but yeah, once I had him, it was on. It was on. So, yeah.
Turn it up a notch. I love that because they do add a different level of meaning to life, a level of focus. But for you to do that at 22, that's commendable. Absolutely amazing.
Still a baby thinking, yeah, I can do this. I think it's just when it actually was in my arms, it just registered that, oh, I've got to do this.
Exactly. You're pregnant all that 9 months, and then you think like the reality hits home when you hold them, and you're like, oh.
Wow. But it's a beautiful moment, and that literally maturity just kicked in from there. So sometimes, it has to be a child in your hands to then
That's
be able
actually
to.
true. Actually, it's very true what you said. The maturity, like kicking in instinctively, because you now know it's not just about you now. Life is expanded, and you've got a little one to look after.
Definitely that. Yeah.
Next question is,
Yep.
one part of your story that you feel has gone unheard or unacknowledged?
I would say I'm a single mum, so it's being the mum and the dad at the same time. Split up with his dad when he was about 5. Yeah, about 5. And I actually was trying to keep on to the relationship because I was the fear of being a single mum. And it was like, how am I going to do this by myself? All of that. But it wasn't a healthy relationship. And it was something that had to end. And once that did happen, it was an element of, I've got to do both. And sometimes people don't realize that as a mum, the disciplinarian bit has to come into play sometimes. And sometimes you struggle because it's always compassion and soft. But especially raising a boy, there has to be that firm hand sometimes. And sometimes that does go unnoticed. And then battling with, okay, if I was a dude, what would I do? Versus, I just want to give him a cuddle. So when I was younger, it's a bit easier. But as he gets older, you can see the difference in having to implement that to make sure that you are definitely, well, I'm raising a great boy to come out into this world. So yeah, definitely that for sure. Yeah.
You know, the way you said it really hits a nerve, because the reality, the shock of, grieving the separation, a relationship, be it a good one or one that was quite challenging, but the shock of reality stepping in, that you're raising a male child. You are having to, you know, really bring out that masculine energy when they're young. You know, all the little, you know, it's fun, right? It's
Yeah.
listen, but as they get to teens, they start pushing out the boundaries. They start realizing they're getting bigger, and
Yeah, I'm short.
yeah, yeah.
Same, I'm short, and I'm like, boy, I'm still your mum. I'm still your mum, yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
But
no.
it's reality that it can be something that's very much unacknowledged and definitely unheard. You
Mm,
hear that side of, you know, raising a child as a single mom. It's tough. It really is.
mm,
You want to
mm.
cuddle, you want to just enjoy, be the soft parent. You don't have the choice to do that, because if you be too soft, they're gonna, you know, go outside the boundary conditions, and
Yeah,
it's hard to get them back.
exactly that.
You're doing a
So,
great job. Really
thank
good.
you. Thank you.
Next question is, what support? What sorry, sorry, I'm getting it all. My words are muddled up now. What support or words of encouragement did you need at the time when you were going through this motherhood journey, when you came to the realization of I'm a single mum? What did you need but you didn't have at the time?
I would say I didn't. What did I need? More of more of a community. Although you know it's there, but it was not something that we come together to discuss.
Mhm.
I think maybe they're trying to do it a bit more now, but back then, especially me being 22, most of my friends didn't have kids. So it was now, and then if I'm coming to an auntie, oh god damn, that's something else. So it's now literally, oh, how am I navigating this? Who do I speak to? And it's just having that community just to just chip in and just say, oh, how are you feeling today about this? Or how do you navigate this? And I don't feel that was that there. And that's something that's been put on mine and my sister's heart, actually, to kind of form that for young mothers that are navigating that kind of world, to just say it's okay. Yes, you had them young, I get it, but you can still push through, you can still prevail, as long as you have your objective, your goals, and your community. You definitely will get there. So I'd say that was a lack of that when younger, for sure.
I think when you initially answered it, I wasn't
Mm,
really thinking it in the way that you articulated it, which I think is brilliant that you added the context.
mm,
Being a young mum, your friends haven't got kids.
mm, mm,
Culturally going to aunties, they're not really celebrating the
mm,
how you're in. So you're on your own.
mm,
Is you are very on your own. You are very isolated, unless one or two people are kind enough to step out and really just realize what you're going through. Otherwise, culturally, it's just judgment. And then with your friends, as much as you know they love you and want to support, they're still young, living their life. So it's a completely different journey. Wow.
Yeah, very. So that I'd definitely say that did. And people, you think, okay, oh, you're my friends. I think it's just that whole thing of, oh wow, you had your child early.
Yeah.
We don't know what to do here, and it's like you definitely then start to see who are your friends and who aren't, so for sure. So,
True. Makes sense. Yeah, because it's a different perspective for all people involved. You know,
mm,
good point. Thank you for
mm.
sharing that.
You're welcome.
Next question is, how has motherhood challenged your sense of identity?
I'm my son's mum. From say school, he always just known as yeah, mum, mum. And it's weird because everyone's mum there. So what mum are you calling? Like mum, mum. But sense of identity, because also I had him quite young as well. Everything was him, him. And I realized even when people are asking of me, it's more so, oh, so how's your son? It was just a 2 pointer kind of conversation, because it was more so everything was about him. And as I've gotten a bit older and I guess forming different relationships with people and things like that, and people ask, okay, so who are you? It's become a question of, actually, who am I? Other than being my son's mum, who am I? And you do get lost in that feeling that, yeah, I'm just my son's mum, but there's more to you. And as you grow up, you see, and also my son's helping me to understand who I am as well. So yeah, sense of identity I felt was lost for a while, and it's now coming. I wouldn't say back, because at those ages you're trying to grasp who you are, but to me I was just a mum at that point. So it's now, yeah, putting a few roller skates on, seeing, can I do that again? It's fun joining him and do those kind of things. So yeah, I think that does answer your question. Yeah.
Yeah, no, spot on. Like it's
Yeah.
relatable as well. You know, mums. I've had different conversations with mums, and
Mm.
the ability of like your mum. You know, you're Tony's mum. Hi, Tony's mum. And then it's like that day you have to write a card, or you got to greet them when the child's not there. You can't say like, "Hi, Tony's mum." You know, like trying to stop them in the street. It's interesting. Our identity just forms as the child's mum.
Yeah.
Pushed to the side. So yeah, totally agree.
And you can get lost in it, saying that, yeah, that is my identity. And you do find that, especially like say with mums and boys, when the boy now moves on, it's more like, oh, you're taking my child. No, he has to move on, and you have to form your own kind of life. And it gets tricky when people haven't done that in between. So
That's interesting that you mentioned that dynamics though.
mm,
Obviously,
mm,
you've got a child of the opposite gender.
mm,
They do say that the girls are like the mum's best friends. They kind of never leave.
yeah,
Eventually, has to go off to be someone's husband and someone's father, and
yeah,
role needs to change. But what you said is quite interesting. I literally saw something on social media about that
mm,
relationship, how sometimes the mother can hold that son back because he start making all the decisions by way of her, and she controls things at a distance. And then as he gets married, he never really has a relationship with just him and his wife. There's three people in that marriage. So it was quite an interesting like it was a video just like explain that dynamics. It's interesting you brought that up.
no, and you definitely have to like learn to move back. And I think that's where, if you don't really know your identity, you get stuck in that, and it becomes quite damaging. So yeah, for sure.
And I'm glad that you actually reiterated that again, because I think the flip side of it is also there's a what is the dynamics that's missing that makes that happen. And often if they don't have a partner, sometimes they do have a husband, but sometimes they don't get their needs fulfilled in that relationship, so they fall into
Yeah.
a relationship. But I like what you're saying, like as mums we do need to be mindful of how that's showing up, and then
Mm.
our relationship just letting that detachment naturally happen so they can thrive and fly. That's what we want them to do.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Yeah, definitely that. So yeah.
Next question is, can you describe a time when you felt completely unseen or unsupported as a mum?
Hmm. Unseen and unsupported as mum. I don't know if I can say this actually. So I'm a football mum. We get to go all around the UK. Sometimes the demands doesn't really account for, yeah, have you thought about, we have to work, we have things to do, and sometimes the credit is obviously due to the child, because obviously they've worked hard and things like that, but it's the encouragement that we push our child to get to where they are, the motivation, the fact that I'm his Uber driver, all these kind of things, and sometimes it's not really seen, and I'm pushing myself to like, okay, be at 3 different places at once. Um, Sometimes you just want to think of, well done, mum, or well done, sis. You managed to get to 3 places in one time. Like, well done. And it's just like, it's again, it's a go, go, go thing. And it comes out expectant. And sometimes you just want to have that crush time. And it can't be, because you always go, 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 go. So yeah, maybe I'll say that when you're expected to always show up, and it's not sometimes congratulated, you just feel a bit unseen sometimes.
Yeah, do I'm glad that you spoke into that, because I think um, it's come up a few times in the essence of women. There's this slow erosion, and
Mm,
erosion takes place over years, right? It doesn't happen overnight, so no one really sees the damage. But the reality is that you're just expected to show up, and you show up.
mm,
You're somewhat doing it, and you're falling apart, or you're balancing, but no one really acknowledges what it takes to actually get there. No one knows what you had to cancel to get there. No one knows what you had to say no to get there. Or no one knows that you had to say no to yourself 1,000 times, your own dreams, your own ambitions. So I'm
yeah.
glad you spoke into that, because I have been at there was a launch party I went to for my children, and there was
Yeah.
on stage talking about this as football mums, the demand, and
Yes.
constantly showing up, and it's your child's career, but they somewhat felt invisible. They somewhat
Mm,
feel that actually we don't get the acknowledgement. We just
no.
and do it. And it's like,
Yeah.
same with the erosion. It's like the dinner table analogy, that people just go to the dinner table when it's mealtime. Other than that, the dinner table's invisible, and it can be like that sometimes.
Exactly, 100%. I love the way that you put that into that, and it literally does feel like that sometimes. And it's like, oh, hi, I'm here.
Yeah. But you know, I also love like being something that's so sensitive and touching. I love the fact of the simplicity of what you're asking for. And it's very much similar to children. As children, they just want to be loved, seen, and heard. You're like, do you still love me? Do you really like me? You know, like they just want that confirmation, right?
Yeah.
And I think what you're talking about, it's such a simplicity because you wasn't asking to be, you know, put on the front of the covers and, you know,
Oh
be
hell
team
no.
mascot. You're
I'm
just
cool at the
saying,
back.
exactly. You're just saying, like, between mum to mum, just, you know, silently saluting each other, saying, well done. You know, I know it took some effort to be here. Well done for being there. So just even that sisterhood interaction, just someone
Yeah.
saying, I see you. Like,
Yeah.
how that would feel like just someone saying, I see you. Well done. Keep going. You'll get.
It gives you that encouragement as well, because sometimes you're just thinking, is this really worth it? Sometimes it's just like, but no, 100%. Once it's all done, you're like, yeah, loving
Yeah,
it. But
exactly.
at the time, sometimes I'm like,
No, and I think it's important because I think other mums hearing this will start to think, oh, that's what that feeling is. And I think this is what these conversations are about, to get our listeners and viewers to just reflect on where they are and just to be honest about what we need. Like sometimes we just need a hug. Like there's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes we just want someone to say, are you okay? Like I'm human. Can you touch me? Like something.
yeah,
Some
yeah.
interaction.
It's the seeing as your mum, you're just invincible when you're just
Yeah,
available. Yeah, so no, definitely.
exactly. So thank you for sharing that. The next question I have is, what has been the most rewarding aspect of motherhood?
It's every day just seeing my little boy just growing up and just seeing little bits of me, and he's kind of looked more like his dad. He's starting to form to look like me a bit. So I'm like, yeah, great. But the most rewarding thing is just knowing that you can pour the good things you've learned into your child. Obviously, you've got habits as well that you try and make sure that's not the case. But just someone that's always just loving you regardless.
Mm.
It's just always someone that's just loving you regardless. I can be annoying sometimes, I know. But I just know it's just it's just that overall just love. That unconditional love, you know? Yeah. It's a bit of a God feeling, isn't it? A
Yeah.
little bit, yeah.
Yeah, especially the way boys love their mums and daughters love
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
We can't say describable.
Yeah. Definitely.
So the next question I have is, what advice would you give to your younger self about before becoming a mum?
um Take your time, I'd say. And I would also say, although not everything is planned, it always works out. So I'd say, yeah, take your time, but then also just know that, yeah, whatever's not planned always works out.
Yes,
Always.
that
Always
is
have a goal. Yeah, I'll say that.
that's so true. Sometimes
Yeah.
those days when you don't think you'll get through it, like God just finds a way. It will happen.
Yeah. Just, yeah, when I look back and I'm just like, wow, I made it. I'm here. And there's still more to it. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah,
No, God for real. God for real.
that's nice.
Mm.
Next question is, how do you balance the emotional weight of motherhood alongside your own dreams, personal dreams and aspirations?
You know what? It does get a bit difficult because I had him quite young, as I said, and I went in. I said, okay, I've got to go work. I've got to buy my house. I've got to do this. So there's a lot of goals and objectives, and I then had to assess what's his goals and objectives as well, and make sure they kind of align. So the beautiful thing with what I'm doing now with Rich Minds and Rich Kids, it gives me that flexibility to teach him about money management, but still be available for him for his football, to be able to work together to birth this together, essentially. But it's that balance, and sometimes you've got to forgo what you wanted. I think I had my initial dream when I was 22 is I'm going to be up in America, I'm going to be living life, everything. I'm now living life in the UK still. So it's essentially, it's hard as well. And sometimes you just gotta be strategic about it, because with the idea of rich man's rich kids, I've always wanted it from a very young age. But the plan was, okay, I need to get a decent job to know that I can actually purchase a property to actually have him in the house to be safe. And it just reeled back the business a bit. But it's just essentially always having the goal. I always say that, because as I said, it will all come into place. But always having a go. But there are times I've forgone some things. I dreamt I was supposed to be an accountant as well. That didn't happen. I looked at how long that's going to take. I said, yeah, I need money now. So I said that. So yeah.
Because at that point, like you're saying, it goes back to your other response of when you held your son, it changed everything. So you had to start thinking that, like, what can I do now? I need to make.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
But aligning them together, yeah. It's also just managing time as well. As he's a bit more older now, age 12, he's more understanding. I've got this me time to build on that. I make sure that I kind of let him see what I'm doing as well, so that teaches him, the way as well. But yeah, definitely when he's younger, it's more okay, extracurriculars things for him, things like that. So yeah, sometimes you just forgo what you kind of want.
And there's a season for that. Like
Mm,
it's where you have to, in order,
mm,
especially as a single mum, you don't really get the luxury to say, can you hold him while I go? Like, who's going to hold him? Like, realistically.
no, definitely that. And the fortunate thing I'd say in my circumstances, maybe most wouldn't have had that, is that I had a very strong family unit. And from that really did help to then like allow me to work, push, thrive, and meet the goals. So no, I'm very appreciative of that for sure.
And I'm really glad you gave them their flowers in this space. I think that's so important to highlight, because when you have a network of support, it does change everything. So
It does. It does. It does. No, for sure. For sure.
So can you share a lesson that you've learned from your own mother or mother figure that shaped how you parent today?
Always show up, regardless of how you're feeling. I never knew my mom had, well, sometimes I knew she had a bad day, but I just, regardless, there was food on the table, she was available if she needs to talk, if I need to talk, essentially. And yeah, she's always got on with it. And that kind of taught me that, yeah, you always just got to get on with it and always find a way. She's always found a way, for sure. And she's quite business oriented from quite a young age also. So she definitely gave that drive to me as well. So learn hard, but you have to make other comments as well. So that was for sure. So yeah.
That's amazing. It's funny, just the other day, actually, just when you were speaking, I remembered that it was it I having a conversation with one of my children, and they said it's
Mm.
interesting when you come home, everyone can be sick, everyone can be tired, but everyone goes and lays down, and it's always mum that goes to the kitchen or tidy up.
Yeah, yeah.
Quite an interesting realization.
It is. It is. It's not. And yeah, she's always in that kitchen. And even if she's tired, you don't know, because she's
Doesn't
there
say.
to come and serve you. Yeah. And it's true. It's true. You can actually go and yeah, she's just got from work and she's going to the kitchen.
Yeah.
Whereas you just playing around in the playground and using their brain a little bit. Yeah, no, that's a good point actually. No, for sure.
Yeah. The next question is, how do you find success as a mother?
You don't really see it until they become an actual citizen of the society and see how they navigate.
You sound like me. I'm like, I don't know yet. Give them some time.
Give me a facade, and when I go outside, they're like a lunatic. But no, I'm joking. Success, I would say, as a mother is, yeah. Do you know what? Sometimes the words, the messages, the wisdom that you impart in there. If it's a case they've actually gone off and done that without you nudging it or anything like that, it's like, wow, they actually have listened and blossomed. So I'd say, yeah, a good God-fearing steward person in the world. I'd say success, but also love. That they can tackle it. I think that's a bit of success because in this, yeah, you can come from the other side. Might be a bit of a road to get there, but you've done it, and also yes, and
Beautiful. Beautiful. It's true because we're raising them to, well, yeah, we'll be there for some of the journey. We want to know they're going to be okay when we're not there. So, very true.
interesting because we're back in my life. Improving yourself, trying to learn and navigate what's going on now in the world, and push them in the right way. It's all challenges, but where should I?
Absolutely. And just, I think every relates to an essence of family experience. Yeah, definitely. So, next question I have: if you could rewrite any part of your motherhood journey, what would it be?
What would I rewrite?
If you could.
If I could, holidays a bit more early. Much more memories because they do tend to you do remember those things more. I made sure that I was the school play.
Grow, look what they
Mm-hmm.
is like at the time what you thought was important.
You know when you're like, I saw this really cool trainers, let's get that for you. It's just, you know, it's hard.
Like,
And then to go just mother and then just raw the chicken. Just it is a different. Yeah.
that's something you never forget.
Mm-mm.
Is how societal pressures influence the way that you or approach mother.
Ooh. Yeah, I'd say more people to people. You start to think, oh, is this the way you're supposed to do it? And that you just then have to remember that everyone's an individual and your child is an individual. You're a bit sideways, but everyone's journey is different. And I think bringing up your child in your way is the right way, essentially to me. But you do fall into that. You do. I sometimes do look a bit like, oh, they've gone on more holidays than I have. Oh, they've got better work, all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, so I feel it sometimes, but I try learn to block it out and say I'm on a different journey to everyone else. I'd say the good thing sometimes about social media is that you get some tips that you never,
yeah,
and you try out and you're like, girl, why didn't I know this sooner?
Yeah, absolutely.
That for sure.
It's got better now. Like the tips, I wish I had that when I was raising some of my other children. Wow, that's rude.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And then there's a flip side, like, oh, we're so hunky dory. And not the case. We're not like that. But no, it's not the case. So I appreciate the tips, but sometimes no.
And I think I always say this to mums is how people there's just this, God's got a good sense. Send lunch, just shake it little bit. It's part of my children their own, and someone like, oh wow, time that wow, how when you get down is that they were when they were with mum, but they weren't sleeping when they were.
Uh,
Oh, all mums, they had to get their baby down, they would have their meals. My kids were just not that. So I felt really, so it's really nice sharing. There's a flip side, there are flips out there, but sometimes there is some added pressures that are out there that kind of make me feel like, oh, I haven't got it like that.
I haven't, and then yeah, it's true. They'll show you sometimes your kids like, behave, please. But essentially, the beauty of being a mum as well is that it helps you to learn yourself as well. Like, just like, how did I get through that? Do you know when you sometimes look back at some certain stories, you're like, did I get through that? Like, how? Like, what? Yeah, it's just mind blowing.
Exactly.
Mind blowing.
Next question I have is, what role has community played in your journey, whether it's been a source of strength or something you struggled with?
I can kind of contradict myself what I said earlier, but in terms of community, I was saying kind of community, I'll change it to more so family and being selective about certain friendships in terms of I'm raising a boy. So I made it a point to have certain male role models for my son from a young age, considering his dad wasn't there from a certain age after that. So it's a case that helped me a lot to be able to navigate around raising a young black boy in London. If I didn't have that, I'd definitely say that it would be more of a challenge. And we need a bit more of that because some people are not fortunate to have family the way I had. And I'm just thinking, wow, the ones that didn't, how are they getting around and navigating? How are they still trying to hit their goals and making sure they're there for their children? And that's something that does form a concern. And I do say, yeah, eventually we'll get there. My first thing is trying to teach people how to money manage with the kids from a young age, and then from there we'll start pushing a bit more community stuff going. So yeah, for sure. Anyone else collaborate actually? Hello.
As you were talking, I was just reflecting, having this conversation with my children, because I set up an organization to help single parents I guess 2006.
Okay.
I remember sitting them down and just drawing a family tree, like if somebody is functional in a family, roughly you would have at least 30 to 50 family members raising a child.
Yeah.
And think about the reality that when someone's a single parent, and if they're away from family, the reality is that that parent doesn't just become a mum and a dad, that parent becomes 30 to 50 other members.
Exactly that. I just feel like it's kind of gone off the wayside now as well. Before, like, yeah, I know if I go outside and I see Auntie too, yeah, she's gonna be checking me, like telling me if I'm being naughty. And I feel now everyone's a bit, that's your prerogative. That's what you do. And and yeah, the fact that's missing is it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
So it kind of goes back to your excuse me, your other response about, being a football mum, just wanting that sisterhood of, encouraging each other. It's because, in everyday life, you're doing so much, doubling up on so many different things. Sometimes you just want to be seen a little bit. So
yeah,
you've said is so on point. Thank you.
thank you.
So the next question I have is, how do you cope with the guilts and doubts that come with motherhood?
I don't.
And it's okay to say that. I just used to say I'm a hot mess, and that's just where I am.
I go to bed with the 10 million things in my head. Have I done that? Have I done this? Have I done that? Have I done that? Oh no, I wasn't able to be there for this. Yeah, there's times I miss sometimes his football because of work, or I've got to do something, and I'm then thinking, oh damn, I wasn't there to see that one goal he did, or make sure he defended really well, and you start to feel quite guilty. Now he doesn't feel too bad. He's a bit more understanding and just goes, okay, mum, it's all right, I understand. But just sometimes, yeah, it's just like you just want to be everywhere at the same time, but you can't. So no, I do battle with it sometimes. Um, I'm learning to be a bit more expressive with him about it. That if I can, trust me, I'm always there. Um, and when he was, it's I always remembered because I didn't always have that was when they're in primary school and then you always have these random plays that they expect your parents to come like in the middle of their work shift to come and watch you, and my parents hardly ever came because they're working. I got that. But when it came to my son, that was the one thing, because I guess I missed that when I was growing up, is that I wanted to make sure I showed up for that. So I've recuperated all my brownies for that. So he still remembers that. So and I can't make it when he's a bit more older. Oh, babe, remember when, I came when he was 2 and you was holding the angel and the star? I was there. You remember that, please? So
oh, those conversations are so real.
it's that. He's like, oh, you missed. I'm like, yeah, but babes, remember you was Joseph when he was in nursery? And I was there. I've got the pictures and I tease him about it because he looked like an absolute.
That is so on point. And it's funny because I've got 5 and they were all at different schools at one point. And like one of them would just say, Mum, but you didn't come to this. I was like,
Yeah.
there's only one of me.
Like, there's one of me.
You have to sort of double up and make sure you get them all in. And I love that because you do draw from those brownie points. I like the way you put it. But yeah, I was there for this, and you can't say I wasn't there. You remember I was there, and their faces when they see you, because they're like scanning the audience. So when they see you, like, yeah,
They're like, no.
It's priceless. Just yeah, it's priceless. But it makes because you care about them so much and you love them so much, it makes sense. You want to be there. And it's nice. He's not we can understand.
Yeah.
We've
No,
been
but
about that.
how I tackle it, I don't know. It's just racing in my head. Just have that conversation, or yeah, I'll make it up to you, and just find out the days that you can work around it. But essentially, I do check myself that we haven't had mum and son time today, or we haven't had it for the week. Let's do something. Mum, I'm cool. I don't want to do nothing. No, we're doing something. Because you would later tell me, nah, it's not the case. So I just sometimes round up with friends and we go, yeah, because as you know, you've got a few now. So when it's a teenager, you say, I don't want to do nothing. But it's just that element of still trying to keep that bond going, for sure. Because, yeah, you can get into that. Nah, I don't want to do nothing.
Yeah, but they're happy after about 20 minutes into it. So
exactly. Sometimes I just forget how fun it is. Like the hormones are just racing in there. So they just don't forget. But no, yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. So true. What do you do? Sorry, what do you wish people understood about the emotional labor that comes with motherhood?
It's the assumption that we've all got it together, haven't we? And we don't know. Do you know what's the funny thing? I saw one reel. I don't know, and I forgot her name, but she looked so composed in the kitchen, but she had 10 million things just buzzing out of her head, like. And it is that the minute you wake up, what we eat for dinner? Are they okay emotionally? Oh, they just did that little stomp. Are they all right? Should I reach out to them? It's all of that, and it's always thinking about someone else and not your own self. If that makes sense. Okay. And it's not seeing that we can have a breather or have some time off. And there's an element now. He's a bit older, so he can see our mum's a bit wants her me time sometimes, and he gets that. But definitely when they were younger, oh hell no. Do you know what? I've told him I'm actually in a podcast, so he has made sure he does not come with his ball, but religiously. if I'm in my room, office, whatever, he'll come bouncing the ball, mum. So
oh boy, mums, that's a whole different topic. You're just making me laugh because all that that sparring. What is it?
Yeah.
When you've got boys like you're just doing the dishes and they go, I'm
like, can you eat? And then do you know what? You don't want to make it seem like it actually hurts before they start thinking they're mad strong. Like, come on now. No. So,
they like to do the whole head looking. I'm like, why do you want to do that? Do it to your brother. Why do you want to do it to your sisters and your mum? Like, what?
No. No, we don't do that.
Yeah, the point. Yeah, I totally can relate to you. It's so funny. And there's quite a lot of reels about that on social media. So again, like there's some funny things that moms can connect with. Going, yeah, my sons
Yeah,
do.
they do that. They do that 100%. Yeah, I think I've answered the
Mum
question.
with the ball in the house. Sorry, mum. Like, what are you breaking? I'm like, no balls in my house. Just you
Yeah.
can break me.
I'm over it now. Do you know how many things have been broken? I'm just like,
Oh gosh. So the next question I have is, what legacy do you hope to live and leave for your son?
we all say the same thing, don't we? But a legacy of hope, wealth. Obviously, I'm building Rich Minds, Rich Kids. Want it to be a case that my son will be able to continue it, hopefully. I'm into property as well and stuff like that. But in terms of the main legacy is always been caring and knowing that God has always got you, and always know that God is the number one. That no one really kind of says that's a form of legacy because everyone thinks about monetary and things like that. But once you always have that, the principles are in the Bible, and the Bible is from God. So once you have that as that your legacy, it will just continue and continue going forward from there. But
That's profound. Yeah, I love that. As soon as you said that, I thought about that scripture around seek first the kingdom of God and all for you. That's
and
such
all,
a powerful legacy. But also, I remember Lachey saying to Trey Sean at one point, she said, "You do realize that the best financial education book is a Bible."
yeah,
And when she said that, I had to, yeah, exactly. That's what I said. Because such a good point. Like the legacy there, it can really just shift the way your child exists in the world. So I love that what you said. Really, really love
literally that. And yeah, you just go back to say my great grandma and what does she rely on? How's that trickled down? And sometimes don't get twisted. Sometimes you will go a bit wayward and forget or feel you're the one that's invincible. But yeah, God checks you and just lets you know, nah, it's me, mate. It's all me. Do you know what I mean? And to continue that. Because there's certain stories my mum has gone and said, oh, I'm getting a bit dark now because of the lighting. But
Oh,
there's certain stories that my mum has said is only now I'm like, yeah, I get it. I understand. So no. All right, cool.
I love what you said, Apet. And one of the things that it started to remind me of is when we think about the scripture and biblical teachings, and you saying that stuff that your mum would say to you, and now you're realizing it, it made me remember that I was saying to my kids, I said, thank you for giving me the gift of motherhood, because being a mother helped me deepen my relationship with God.
Mm,
Growing up, it's all there. I mean, you're kind of thinking if you did listen and take your time, there's certain pathways you would have taken, but also that dynamics between our Heavenly Father
yeah.
and how we have that dynamics with our children. And for me, it's been such a deep journey to go, actually, I now understand God so much differently now since being a mother. Because I can see, you speak to your children, you mean well, you wait there, like the prodigal son, they go off into the world and you come back and you're so happy. Or if one sheep goes off, you're like, actually, let me go and get the stray sheep. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you're
Yeah.
not good, but let me go and get that one that's gone over.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all of these stories have just become so much more valid since I've become a mother. So really thank you for just reminding me of that.
No, you definitely nailed it on the head there. Definitely that. No, it's true. No, it's a beautiful thing, definitely. Yeah. Such a laugh back, like it's true. You do realise, yes, motherhood is definitely a journey, and the Lord definitely does navigate you in a beautiful way. And also
Absolutely.
that unconditional love. I guess you don't realise it until you're now pouring it out to someone else. And you're like, God loves me even more than the way I love my kids.
And when you have to learn to love through the pain,
Yeah.
powerful. Like when you think of how you love your children, if someone else had done those things or said those things, it wouldn't have been that repetitious, right? But then you love your children through the pain. And I always say to my kids, there's nothing that you can do to stop me from loving you.
Yeah.
But still be respectful, obviously, not trying to tell them to just do anything. But the reality is it really is unconditional.
No, it's true.
Really
No.
good experience. So,
Oh,
thank you.
thank
Next
you.
question I have for you is, how has motherhood transformed your relationships, whether with a partner, friends, or family, etc.?
I'd say definitely their friends' mums have now become my friends
Oh,
by
yeah.
default. By default. And it's interesting. Do you know when you're a child, you just make friends just like that, and when you become adults, it's a bit difficult for some reason. Some people it's easy, some people it's
Oh,
not. For
your
me,
spirit of discernment sharp, and you don't just, yeah, you learn.
you learn, but it's just that bit of innocence of how they
It's true.
just form friendship. But the interesting thing is that kids have a very strong sense of like spirit and things like that, and they can gauge. Nah, yeah. So yeah, I just admire it the way that just like and sometimes it's I'm not even right. I don't know if I should say this, but sometimes it's good just to see how your child reacts around somebody that's an adult, and you're like, oh, it's something
Very
I don't know.
true. Yeah, very true.
So
That
it's
is
just like,
it's so spot on. It's interesting because I know there's this conversation about never forcing your child to greet somebody, to embrace, when they're little, because kids can pick up on things. But it is
yeah,
interesting to see how your child relates to certain people around you, and especially if
mm,
you're very fond of that person, all of a sudden the child's like looking because they can see what you can't, because they love you,
yeah,
study you. Like the way
yeah.
your children watch and listen, and they're aware, they never forget. One thing I noticed with children, they never forget how people treat you. They will
Mm-mm,
always watch, and they'll
mm-mm.
try it. They don't always say it straight away. Some do, you've got different characters in different families.
No, child.
So
When we get in
yeah,
the car alone, yeah, please.
it's all different aspects, but the gift of that, like for them to love you so purely, that they're in observation that people also love you too.
Mm, no, so I'd say that little, what would you say, that little sixth sense that they come with, like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, yeah. But
Exactly.
also to have grace as well, because sometimes you see some things that your child doing a bit naughty, and you're just thinking, oh, why are you doing that? It helps then to realize that everyone is an element of a child, and sometimes when people kind of do you wrong, it helps you to maybe exercise grace, obviously with wisdom, but there's an element of that, I'd say, as well. I'd
Very
say.
true.
Yeah.
That's a really nice way of saying it, because we do have to exercise grace. You're quite right.
Mm,
And when those
mm.
moments of, they're opportunities, they are opportunities to exercise grace. We have to use the spirit of discernment to know when that is.
When that is 100%. Yeah, definitely.
So the next question I have is, what's the most unexpected lesson that your son has taught you?
Most unexpected lesson that he can't hold his tongue. Oh man.
Oh, that's funny.
No, he's a little no, he's amazing. He's really amazing. Unexpected. I think some checking me sometimes, Sometimes when I feel I've got it all going on or whatever, he'd be like, no, mum, I don't think that one was that. And it's learning to allow him to be expressive but respectfully, to hear his opinion on certain things. I know some people feel that okay, when kids are a certain age, they don't have the right to really speak or talk, but in terms of giving their opinion. But I'm quite big on allowing them to express, obviously being respectful in what you're saying. And sometimes he's saying some gems. You'd be surprised a 12-year-old is saying some gems, but as we was just saying, it's just that being able to observe and say someone that's always there with you and seeing your actions, and you're thinking it's all good and hunky-dory, but they're like, no, mum, you sped a bit too much when you were driving today, or mummy, if we left a bit earlier, we would be on football on time, maybe. Like, so just those little things. So I think that does answer the question, that someone's there checking you. That was a bit unexpected. You wouldn't think. Because I just remember when I was young, I couldn't go tell my mum those things. How dare you? But these new schools, what are they called? They're not even, she's not even Gen Z. What is this? There's so many different
I
titles
don't
to
even
these
know.
kids
I've
now.
lost track.
But it's like freedom of speech, all hell go. Like, and it's like, oh, and an element of them sometimes are quite true. So I gotta yeah, you're kind of right. Obviously, I won't tell him then and there, but like,
I think, like you said, it's contextual and respectful, but giving them the grace to actually be able to express themselves. And I can honestly say that my children were my biggest and first mentors because of what we share, because I was very much a tomboy when I had Shay, and she was like, that ain't happening, you need to sort that out. I don't like it. And I remember that, and just like leaning into aspects, and they see the way they see you. I think the way I would describe it is that they see you in pure love, so they will
yeah,
always lift you up to the version that they see of you. So
yeah,
down a little bit, or you forget that, they'll remind you. And I remember when I was going through my hardest time, Amir would have been about one-ish, but it must have been at least 6 months. Every morning say, "Mummy, you're beautiful," and he'll kiss me every morning, and he would just say like the most beautiful and sweetest things. And I just thought, where did you get this from? Like, where did you get it? So they're just a gift, a pure gift.
definitely. And sometimes you just know what to say at the right time, and
Oh
you're just
God,
like,
absolutely.
oh, yeah,
Really watch you. I think that's something that shocked me, how much they watch. Like, that when they're watching, but it's the time when you sort of don't realize they're watching and you're watching. If you just use your peripheral view, and you just realize they're constantly watching you.
always. And like sometimes I don't even know I'm annoyed, but I'm annoyed. My mum, why are you annoyed? I'm like,
Yeah.
boy, I'm not. And I think about, I'm like, oh yeah, actually, the plate wasn't where I wanted it to be. So I went, oh,
So true.
is
So
everything okay? I'm just like, I'm just having a little fit over a plate. It's okay. You're like, do you know what I mean? So
so
yeah.
and it's so true what you said. Even if you deny what they can see, they will constantly just say, "No, mum, you don't see okay. You might be saying you're okay. You might be smiling, or you might be in a room and they're like, that's not the right smile. What's going on?"
Yeah,
Everyone.
like, well, what's happened? What's happened? I'm like, no, it's cool, man, it's cool. So for sure, for sure.
Funny. Now, if you could change one thing about how society views or supports mothers, what would it be?
I think it would be that we do need a break sometimes. We do need a break, especially like when they tend to be housewives, and it's the assumption that, "Oh, but what have you done all day? You've just been at home." I'm like, oh, excuse me, excuse me. It's a job and a half. It's actually a job and a half, and sometimes it's not really seen how much we effort we put into it.
That's a good point. That
Mm,
is such a good point. You've been at home all day. I've been at work. Why are you
mm.
tired? And you think, wow, I've been a doctor, I've been a nurse, I've been a solicitor. I did I did deliveries. I did the gardening. That you've done so many different jobs, and it's just seen as nothing.
Nah, it's not that. Yeah, even counselling on top, so that's mental
Exactly.
capacity as well. It's just
Exactly.
like,
Making sure that everyone's diaries are coordinated and get to where they need to get to on time. Like, even if the alarm goes off in the calendar, you're still like, you realizing you got this meeting. Can you be here? Can you be there? So no, you're quite right. You're quite right.
yeah, it's a lot.
Especially when you're a housewife. And I often meet mums that will say, "Oh, I'm just a housewife."
I'm like, no, girl, it's not just.
Yeah, you wear all the hats.
Yes, 100%, 100%.
So the next question I've got is, how has motherhood changed your perspective on yourself, your goals, and life in general?
You know that saying of it's a journey and not a race. It's actually true. So when you set certain goals and they don't always come into fruition, but when you look back at your boy or your girl, your daughter, or your child, or son, I said I'm doing this for you. That's what keeps that tenacity going. And it's gonna be a journey. It's not gonna be smooth because yeah, you might have to go and, I don't know, take them to here and there, and you have to forgo what you want. But ultimately, yeah, setting those goals and keep it going, I think is very, very important. I feel like I digressed on the question, but I think I've hit it still.
I just asked them, how did it change your perspective on that? So you were just saying that they're the priority. So if you've got your children, you realize that everything you're doing is for them.
It is, it is. And there's days you just want to chill and you can't because you just keep on going. So
That's deep.
priorities definitely change in that sense.
Yeah, that's actually deep when you think about it, because as they get older, I guess it depends on what the kind of commitments that you have with the child. But when you think when they're younger, you just keep going. If you're nursing while at work, if you're nursing while managing multiple children or one child, not sleeping, and you just keep going. So yeah, that really hits the nail on the head. Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just don't realize until it's all kind of done when you sit down to reflect, you're like, how did I do that? Because I even say now, because with work, it's quite fortunate that you can work from home predominantly. But prior to
Oh
that, it
yeah.
was going into work 5 days a week, plus then making sure that I've had availability to go to all these extracurricular things, plus to make sure you hit your targets, all of that kind of stuff. I just think, how did I used to do that? So it's just always just ever evolving, just trying to manage the circumstances you're in. So yeah.
That's very interesting that you said that.
Mm.
For some reason, it came to mind about like what are your views around this extracurricular? Because I think as well sometimes for mums, obviously because listeners are mothers, that's our primary
Mhm.
audience. I'm thinking I have heard mums sort of feel the pressure of having to, and I kind of look back on our childhood, like we didn't really have to have extracurricular to feel occupied. It wasn't
Yeah.
bored, like kind of walking around the house like, mom, what can I do, I'm bored. Like you had a sense of agency to keep yourself occupied. You had your,
Yeah.
and I just feel for mums sometimes with that added pressure. I don't know why it's dropped into my heart to say this, but don't beat yourself up if you are in a situation where everyone's got these extracurricular activities for their children, and you feel like maybe finances or because just time you don't have the capacity to do it. Don't beat yourself up about that, because I love the fact that yourself, Apet, said everyone's life is different. Don't kind of keep up with the Joneses on social media, having to do these things, to take the snapshot and feel like, oh, I'm doing this. Like, there's nothing wrong with being at home and reading a book. That's an extracurricular activity. Nothing wrong
That's
with scrubbing the
it.
bathroom. It's like teaching and discipline and key principles, and just taking care of their home. Don't underestimate what that is. Like some children, they learn so many good life skills by understanding it's okay to roll up your sleeves and do the gardening.
Yeah. I had my son helping me actually to do the gardening. I had the
Oh.
most bizarre quotes, and I was like, I'm not paying that. We're gonna go sort that out ourselves. I ain't doing that. And yeah, 'cause, listen, someone told me 600. I'm like, my garden is not a palace, please. Like,
The landscape, like what they doing in
yeah,
the
I don't know. I don't know. I think I may have been a bit extravagant with the photos because I don't understand where they got that quote from. But we move. We
garden.
move.
Son, let's go and do it. Next question. What did you have to sacrifice in order to become a mom?
My life, innit? Your life. You literally have to put certain goals and things aside, and it's now for your baby. And just even certain friendships going out, even relationships, sometimes you've got to think, I can't do that. So it's a big thing. It's a big thing when you become a mother because it's all about them. And it goes back to that thing of identity as well, because it's all about them. That now becomes your identity. But then there's a part where you now have to start to form back your identity. And when you're so sucked into it, sometimes it's hard to get it back going again. So that's where I guess the overall goals have to still, I personally feel, have to still be there. And sometimes even get your kids involved in your goals. Yeah, definitely. I think that makes it a very much easier journey to prevail, and they're there cheering you on. There's so many there's so many mums I've come across that they've graduated much more older into their years,
Yeah, that's true.
and their kids are absolutely proud that they've done that.
That's amazing.
And you brought them through with that journey, and that even taught them perseverance, and you could still do anything at any age.
Incredible.
So
I love that you highlighted that. That is so amazing. It's very true. I know quite a few mums and dads that are actually on that journey or gone through that journey, and their kids are just blown away. Like the message that they've actually embodied to their family, just by how powerful that strength to somewhat navigate your children through that dynamics, wait, and then go back through that yourself.
And go back. And it gives that message as well that never ever give up on your dreams, and you can still do it. Even if the journey seems not straight, it's a bit wayward, you're still gonna eventually get there. But just always stick to what you said you're gonna do, because you will gain from it afterwards.
I'm
So
really glad you added that. That is so true. Like so many, like even some single fathers have done it or doing it, and single moms. It's so incredible. I think the oldest I've heard it in the classroom, I think 80.
yeah, I remember that one.
So it's just incredible, absolutely incredible. So thank you for mentioning that.
You're
Really,
welcome.
never give up on your dreams. That's a brilliant example. Next one is, who were you before you became a mum? I know you touched on it a little bit, but maybe just go into it a little bit of depth. Like, who were you before you became a mum?
Where was I? Something wrong. Yeah, still goal orientated. Was in uni when I did fall pregnant, and then I actually graduated when I was like 6 months pregnant. So in the gown, I had to get a bit of a big one, just when the photos come, got angle it so you don't show too much. But but I've tried to remain myself. I think maybe that was the fortunate thing of being a bit young. You can kind of still shape yourself whilst you're still being with your child. But yeah. Also an older sister, navigating through life, understanding, but essentially someone that was quite goal orientated from a very young age.
So that's stayed the same, but also intensified when your son arrived. That's interesting.
Yes, yes. So it was always intrigued about buildings and properties, and I was like, I want to know more about that. And once I did have my
Thank you.
son,
Yeah, you've been like that. That's amazing.
yes, from young I've always. So I was always that young girl that was always, like when they hold these property events, these the free ones, of course. I couldn't afford them 10,000 ones at the time, but there's free ones that you come for networking. I was always the young one, just there, like just networking with these grown ass people. I made so many older friends, like that were into property and navigating it a bit more older than I was, and I was just always that person, just hey, I want to know more tips, and oh, can you mentor me? And yeah, it paused a bit obviously once I had my son, but then yeah, I'm doing it now, so it's all good. Thank
Really
you.
inspiring. Next question is, what is the gift of motherhood?
The gift of motherhood is to blossom. It's to start thriving once you have a little one that you want to navigate and move. But it's beautiful. There's days I feel a bit down, and just seeing my son just brightens me up again. It's sometimes just a bit unexplainable when you're trying to put it all in one word, or a couple sentences, because there's so many different emotions that come with it. So many different emotions. And even if, say that again.
Sorry, I said I totally agree with you beyond
No, yeah.
words.
Yeah, and even when they're frustrating you, they find a way to make you laugh at the same time. And you got to keep that composure. Like, you've actually annoyed me, but you're fine. You're absolutely hilarious at this point. So yeah, that's a beautiful gift. Definitely a beautiful gift.
Next question is, right, so we're getting into our trivia section just to lighten the mood a little bit, because I'm going really deep into your journey. First question is, if your son was to write a book about you, what would the title be?
So I've asked him. I asked him. He came up with so many different titles. What did he say? Oh, the youthful goddess.
Oh,
wow. I said, okay, I can run with that one. All right.
Nice. I like that.
Then he added annoying at the end.
Teenage stage, yeah.
Yeah. So I was at the teenage. I was like, okay. He's like, Mummy, we're just doing the most. You always want to take a photo of me. You want to do this and that. That's annoying. But no, he was just like, no, the youthful goddess for sure. He was like, yeah, you're like my taxi driver. Everywhere you take me. And then I was like, what's goddess from then? He's like, oh, but you just know you're so nice and beautiful. I said, oh. You know how to sugar it now, innit?
What you after?
I was like, what do you want?
Beautiful.
So yeah, we'll stick with that one. Do you know when you have when you have like the amazing like title there, and you have the little annoying bit just hanging off, like just
Be a good book, actually. I think people would buy that. Definitely buy that. Mums would buy that as well. Like, yeah, my team would say the same thing.
yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I love that though.
Thank you.
You know he means it, and that's the thing. They add the little bit of humour sometimes, especially with the boys. Like, oh yeah, don't get too excited. They have to add.
Yeah, don't get too excited. You are annoying. I'm like, oh. I was like, you know, I own it. I don't care.
Oh God. Next question is, what's the funniest mum fail moment that you've experienced?
Oh man, what's the funniest? I read the timing wrong for one of his games.
Yep. Yes.
So we're all rushing. Yeah. I actually thought it was on time. It was like halfway through the match. Lucky it was an academy game. It was a grassroots. It was just a little kick around. And the dirtiest look he gave me, I was like, Mom.
They remember. They'll always bring it up. I said, no, that's out of order. You don't need to keep remembering. They'll forget about all the times you got there on time, just that one time. They won't let you.
That was the biggest fail. Never forget it. So now I double check 10 times. He even asked me 10 times, Mum, what is the time? Obviously now he can physically go and look himself. Set the alarm.
Sounds about right.
So yeah, I would say that's the biggest one. Like, oh man.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Next one is, what's your go-to hideout place when you need a break?
My car. Because anywhere else you come
Find you anywhere else?
Yeah.
And if you leave the house, gonna leave behind you.
It's my car.
Oh,
I'll grab the keys. I live in a cul-de-sac, so it's not too bad. Literally just there. Grab the key. Where you go? I'm going to the car.
Yeah.
Okay. If I'm in my room, yeah. By now the ball and him will be here. So yeah. And then it's funny, everyone's like, you live in your car, don't you? I'm like, yeah. If you don't find me in my house, it's my car. Literally. Yeah.
Oh, you need to have your conversation. I've always done that everything in the background.
Do you know when they're acting like they're busy doing something, but they've listened to everything? Oh, so what did you say to Auntie? Yeah, okay.
What's the strangest or unexpected thing that you've ever found in your son's backpack when he was growing up, or his pockets?
The strangest. Oh gosh. Yeah, would it be strange? But it was like a little love note. I was like, what on earth?
He wrote it.
What on earth? Yeah, but he didn't give it to the girl. And I was like, damn right you shouldn't have. Like, excuse me. This is primary school times. I was just like, excuse me.
Oh, that's so funny.
But that was just that. What's that? And from there I realised he's a bit of a he's good with his words, isn't he? He was a bit sweet with the words. I was just like, okay, all right. So I said that was the strangest.
So sweet with the words. He's gonna come for you when he hears this on the podcast.
I'd be like,
Oh, so funny.
He's lucky I'm not even being out the girl's name. No, he'd be all over.
Stop it a bit, please. I'll behave yourself. Grab your book. So for the next question, if our community of listeners could support you in 3 transformative ways, what would you ask for? So if you can tell them a bit about what you do so they know the context in which that you're going to ask for these things. I know you've got your book with you. Talk us through some of that and the property.
Yes. So what do I do now? I teach kids finance. I go into schools teaching kids about money management, paying for things on time, the key principles, and it's been a thing on my heart that kids need to understand it from a young age. We understand that we start to learn it as PSHE and secondary schools, so it's quite vague with that as well. But it's been on my heart to teach kids money management from a young age. So from October last year, I released a book with my business partner. See, oh, it's showing. I was like, I'm not sure. So I can see an amazing toy shop. So this particular book here teaching kids about money management and teaching them about the concept of being responsible, bringing things on time. But this is quite an interactive book that it has questions at the back as well as a game. When you do purchase, it comes with game pieces as well that you're showing there, Sabrina. But off the back of that, it's actually allowed me to birth the passion of trying to get this into the curriculum. So it's my main aim and goal that eventually it would be an actual curriculum in schools. So I put it out there now. So the pressure is on. The pressure is on.
Correct me if I'm wrong, there's a quadrant system you're offering for schools, is it?
There is. So we are Rich Minds, Rich Kids. So we offer books, we offer merchandise. So that's representation of our own, with our characters on t-shirts, hoodies. We're going to expand from that also. I then do the workshops going into schools and courses. The next thing I am trying to do is form courses for homeschools to go from there. And the last one is animation. So that would be like content on money management skills or tips that you can do with your child from as young as age 5. It's imperative just to know that skill of knowing how to handle money, knowing what to say, what's needs and wants when you go to the shop, navigating with different pricing and seeing, okay, how can I spend and things like that. And it's as young as age 7 that kids, 6, 7, that they actually start to form the habit of money and attachment of money on understanding money. So that's why I just felt it was on my heart that this is something that needs to be taught from quite a young age. So from there, I have been doing that. So to spread the words, get me into as many schools as possible, and just ask money questions sometimes your kids. I know sometimes it's a thing of now that the kids see the most outrageous things and think you can afford it, and you're like, I can't afford it. But it's more so giving them little tips and steps to navigate around that, even little chores. If it's going to give them a few pennies and things like that, essentially just shows them the discipline and know how to respect money. At the moment, it's a lot of tapping going on that they don't actually physically see coins and know how it actually works. So that's a big thing that I'm trying to implement also. Yeah, I do property as well. I have helped my parents to build a bit of a portfolio, and I'm continuing that as well, doing into Airbnb and things like that as well. So yeah, off the back of that, maybe make a course or something like that. But yeah, I'm always all ears to talk about property because I
So
do
just to
enjoy it.
remind the listeners, what are the 3 ways that would be transformative if they helped you in that way? So getting into schools,
Getting into schools, supporting the what we're doing in terms of the business. So that's telling someone else about it, purchasing the book. Also, even just implementing certain tips with your children. I'm always on for attending community events to see how we can all collaborate and work together.
so you're open for public speaking engagements?
Yes.
Okay. TV
Yeah.
appearances or magazines being flown out somewhere?
Oh, girl. We getting in, aren't we? Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be amazing just to get the message out there. It's just a big passion of mine, just to know that we are setting life skills that are really needed in schools. Yeah, Pythagoras theorem. I don't know when we use that unless you are some sort of engineer or something like that. But most life skills aren't really implemented. So it's just a big passion of mine just to get that out there. So yeah, up for public speaking. I'll try not to make you guys laugh too much. But
Laughing is good.
it is, it's good for the soul. It's good for the soul. It's a
Exactly.
good medicine. So yeah, speaking engagement, public speaking, coming in to speak to children, even parents, on how to navigate around money talks. Because some people growing up, they didn't have that understanding, or they have a scarcity mindset. So it's not a case that they know how to now have an abundant conversation with their child. So that's something that I also do as well. So yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing that.
you're welcome.
The next question I have is, what's one way that you plan on paying it forward as a result of our conversation today?
I'm gonna try and aim to do an actual speaking engagement, because we did have this conversation offline, and I was just like, "Oh, I'm so nervous, I'm so scared." But after this good old conversation, chinwag,
Oh, that's nice. That's really
maybe
nice.
that will be something also. I might
Sounds
put
like a
some.
step in the right direction.
That's good. See the journey, the goals. See.
Exactly, organically coming together.
hmm
So the next one I have is, how do you hope sharing your story on this podcast will impact others?
My story probably is quite similar to most people, and sometimes people do feel that their story is very unique to themselves, and then they feel they're going through it alone. So with this, it's just giving that encouragement that you can have your goals and aims and still get them done, regardless of what year it's happened. If it was year one you wanted it to happen, but if it's year 12 it's happened, you've still done it. So just giving that encouragement and motivation that you got this in the bag, just keep on going and you'll get there.
Now, this one, just to give context to this question that's coming up, around like forgiveness and loving and care. So the question is, as a result of this conversation today, what words of love or appreciation would you like to say to your father's son?
My father's son.
No, sorry, your son. God, I've not even said it right. Your son's
How's
father.
that?
Sorry. You repeated it. I was like, what? Yeah, so sorry. No,
That's fine.
his father.
So ask me the question again, please. Sorry, Sabrina.
Absolutely. So as a result, and I'm leaving this bit in so mothers can have a laugh with my tongue twisted delivery. So as a result of this conversation, what would you like to say to the father of your son? Words of appreciation or gratitude? I know sometimes it could be hard, but sometimes it's really important to be able to find a way to thank you for the child, thank you for what you taught me.
Listen, without him, my amazing son would not be here, because we had to come together to form him. And there's certain traits I do see that he has of him, and I'm like, okay, I see it, and that's formed the character that he is and the amazing young boy that he is today. So I say thanks.
You make
That's just how
You're so funny. But it's nice that you're able to be in a space to say that. I think it's really nice for us to, looking back, to get to a place where we can just say those words, because there's always something to be grateful for if we look for the silver lining.
Definitely. Even if the worst situations, there's always some sort of story or some sort of grace within that. And it's now trying to look at all the time the positive and the negative, and that helps you to keep going. Otherwise, you end up being negative Nancy all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, and this
So,
is true, because at the end of the day, respectful to any mother that's answering that question is that, there's a journey, and sometimes the journey has been painful. So it's not to negate that, but just to say, you're in a place now where you can offer those words for you, because it's about you.
I like you put that in there, because there is sometimes a case of there isn't much appreciation shown on them, regardless of some of the things they may have done. That's not there. But essentially, yeah, not everyone's the worst of the worst. There is an element that they've done something. So yeah.
That's beautiful. That's really nice. So next question I have is, what are you proud of yourself for?
Showing up every day. Keep on going. Days I want to stay in my bed, yo.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think there's so much pressure on. I built the Eiffel Tower, I flew, a Boeing 737. The reality is, for some mums, the first win is just getting out of bed. That is so true.
It is, and it's amazing, because when you're in there and you're like, oh my god, I gotta get up, I gotta get up. The minute you do, everything just starts falling into place, and it's just that one step to show up. It all falls into place from there.
Exactly.
And some people, yeah, do take that for granted, because some people do struggle to actually genuinely just get up.
Yeah.
So once you take that step, yeah,
I'm glad you said it like that.
yeah.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What do you want to say sorry to yourself for?
Sorry for not taking time to know me. Sorry for not taking time to know me and allowing everything else to be all go and not knowing me. And I'm happy I'm not in that space like that anymore. But sorry I took too long, man. I'm sorry, girl. I took too long. But I'm here now.
Exactly, you're here now. A kind of a continuation of that. So although you're sorry, what do you want to forgive yourself for?
What do I forgive myself for? What do I forgive myself for? I would say that's a good question. And if I've got to, what would I say that I forgive myself for is my mistakes that I feel may be trying to dictate my future. And if I don't choose to forgive those, that would now become and try and define me. So I have to learn to forgive my mistakes or not using wisdom or discernment as I should. So that doesn't define me for now.
I love that.
So yeah, I definitely that actually.
That's beautiful. That
Yeah,
is
thank you.
really nice.
Mm.
Next question is, what do you have to say thank you to yourself for?
Keep on going. I'd say yeah, because the choice to say okay, I'm gonna have to be a single mum and keep it going, keep on pushing. I didn't know what would kind of be on the other side, and I was worried. And I'm grateful I've done that. I've raised an amazing young man. I've got a business that just started, but it's thriving and it's a passion what I'm doing. And yeah, just every day, just meeting amazing people, even like yourself, Sabrina.
Likewise, really a pleasure to meet you, all the amazing things you're doing, and to meet your son. Actually, it was really nice to meet him.
Yeah.
It really was nice, surprise encounter. So you've done an excellent job. I want to add. This is my final question. The final question I have for you is: what are you willing to let go of and heal from as a result of our conversation today?
Let go of the way I view obstacles. See them as growth and something that's stretching and pulling me to the right direction. Comfort means you're not going to get further or anywhere. But the little stretch, keep on building, you become stronger and stronger. So I'm going to have to always remember that. So when it's a bit uncomfortable, it means something's working. And it's the same like when you go to the gym. When the muscles are aching and you're trying to get that last rep in, that's when it counts the most, not when it's comfortable. So if you want to see them goals, you got to stretch.
I love.
That sounded really philosophical. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. So the only thing I'm going to ask, no more questions, but if you've got any final words for our listeners that you'd like to share or any points that you want to make.
I'd say to all the mums, just keep on shining. Sometimes you feel like you're not being seen or not being acknowledged and just getting on with it, but keep on shining. And I'm ever so grateful that I've found Rich Minds, Rich Kids to meet mums more so because it's kids that I'm around. So I'm always around like family. And it always put a smile on my face just to see someone purchase the book and know that this has helped them and benefit them. When I go into schools, doing the workshops, just to know that I've just left a little nugget for them to go home to talk to their parents about. And it's a beautiful thing. And I'm just grateful that I'm on this platform to even speak with you. And I just want to keep telling people to keep on shining. Some days you may feel like you're not glowing, but yeah, put your lipstick on, put your bit of your mascara, your eyebrows, come outside.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Sorry, did I interrupt what you're saying?
No, no, that's it.
Just the way
Sometimes, just
you
a bit of lipstick just makes a difference.
it's true, it definitely makes a difference. It does make a
Uh,
difference of how you actually feel, but also how people
mm,
respond to you the rest of the day. Right.
yes, yes.
So thank you so much for like taking time to sit here in this space. Thank you for responding to the each question, so wholesomely. You took time to process and really thought about
Yeah.
be teachable, but also sharing, which is amazing. And thanks for sharing your business,
Thank you.
both businesses with us, and wish you every success in that. And
Thank
it's
you.
been a pleasure, Apet. I'm just literally going to do the outro and then
Hmm.
be the end.
All right then, cool.
So, listeners, let's turn words into action. If you've been moved by today's story, think about how you can offer some support to our guests, no matter how big or small. Whether it's through a kind message, I can get my words out, whether it's a kind message, a shared resource, or connecting with our guests. Let's build a community that uplifts and empowers each other. Thank you for tuning into the Unheard Cries of a Mother. Your story matters, and together we can create ripple effects of understanding, support, and transformation. If today's conversation resonated with you, like, comment, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, as mothers, we are stronger together. Until next time, let's keep uplifting each other and turning unheard cries into powerful voices. Apet, thank you so much for joining me. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you for having me. Time was had.